Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape, and in this video I'm sharing a portion of my interview with Daryl Slater, who is the brand manager of Kryptonite locks and lights. And in our interview, we talk about a wide variety of topics that will be split up into different videos, everything from how to lock your electric bike up to the pros and cons of each type of lock. So I hope you find this section of the interview helpful. If you want to support what I'm doing here at Ebike Escape, I'll have a link to Kryptonite bike locks. I will also have a link to our top e-bike brands page and of course our electric bike accessories list. I also have a page dedicated to electric bike deals. Purchases made through those pages help support the channel. So thanks in advance. With that, let's get on with the interview.
Yeah, and I think you'd already checked it out, but like honestly, with our new click bracket, first of all, my experience in customer support and customer experience helping our consumers, anywhere where we can have an audible click, I'm a fan of, because that confirms something's either engaged, disengaged, open, closed. So like, I mean, literally the clicking of the bracket, letting someone know, it's released. I can remove the product, and then when it's secured, it's closed, it's in the lock position, I can go and ride. And just the form factor, the size, how compact it is. As someone who comes from a brand with U-Lock as our heritage, and having created bicycle security in the U.S. market, we're silly to not say this makes a lot of sense as a security product for an e-bike rider. And so that's why this is one of the areas in the portfolio where we continue to look at what can we do from a security perspective in terms of adding security to these products, making them easier to use, making them more portable, because that's what customers are asking for.
Sure. And let's maybe dig into some of the other products that you might, so people can kind of get a visual. So that was is that the 610 that you were just showing?
This is our new 610S, yeah, which we just released this season. So this is our moderate security, 6 out of 10 security folding lock with the new click bracket.
Okay. And what is the difference between the S and the non-S variation, just so?
Yeah, great question. So the predecessor to this, overall, this is a more compact lock. So we took some space out of the lock head and the width of the steel bars in terms of just the overall form factor. Big thing on this is we added the rubber to the steel bars to help prevent any scratching on the frame, allowing for some durability there. We did some work on the overall performance from making it a more quiet lock. One of the biggest things you want to do that we do with all of our locks is test them on a bounce tester so that we know that both while in the carrying bracket while riding and just when in use, making sure that we have as little rattle as possible. So it's just giving a good performance and a quiet performance for the e-bike rider. And then the big thing really was the click bracket. So adding the click bracket. Previously, when we came to market, we used a strap system, which was okay out of the gate for us in terms of being something that allowed for some differentiation in the market. And then we've realized that as we move up in terms of additional products we're going to add to our portfolio, the click bracket makes a lot of sense for us, and it's something our consumers like from a convenience perspective.
Sure. And is the 610S the highest security rating folding lock you guys offer? Is that correct?
Currently it is, yeah. So we introduced folding locks as a brand in 2000. It really first full year was 2019. So we're fairly new to the folding lock category. As an organization, which I'll get into later, we have 2 sister brands in Europe. As an organization, we've been doing folding locks for decades. But for Kryptonite, the Kryptonite brand, our first folding locks were in our Keeper and our Kryptolok families, which are our 5 out of 10 and our 6 out of 10, our moderate security. And the thinking there was that's where we'd have more of our commuter audience in terms of kind of some of the volumes that we looked at. We started there from a folding lock perspective, and now we're looking to introduce more products at the higher security levels in folding locks.
Sure. Okay, let's maybe move on. Do you want to show us some other products you might have on hand that people might want to consider?
Absolutely. So one of the products we recommend a lot, particularly for some of the, and I'll talk a lot about like the general commuter cargo bike, is the integrated chain. And so this, you mentioned the Evolution chain. This happens to be 90 centimeter. So this is our Evolution 1090. This is a product I use. It's one of the most flexible pieces of security we have. And I say that from this really is just the right amount of weight and just the right amount of security. It's not like one of our larger home security chains where you really feel like you're getting a workout. This, oftentimes I'll put this around my waist as long as I haven't had a big lunch, and I will ride with this, if I'm riding around town. This is 90 centimeters. The links are 10 millimeters in thickness. And again, integrated chain where it's all one piece. And it just works well in terms of, for the majority of the standard model and commuter cargo style electric bikes, allows you to grab the rear wheel, a piece of the frame, and lock to a fixed object. Now, that's not going to apply to every electric bike, and we know that because you get some of the geometries, and I think of the Rad Wagon, where you really want to bump up to like the 120 centimeter version chain because you need that additional length. And so one of the things we talk about from a proper lockup perspective is always lock according to value. And so this is where, when we're educating consumers, we say lock according to value. So when you're locking with this type of a chain, you want to lock first the frame, because that's the most expensive, then your rear wheel where you have your componentry, and then your front wheel. So if someone has one chain and they're saying, well, do I lock the frame and the front wheel, or do I lock the frame and the rear wheel? We want them to get around the rear wheel and the frame. But with some of the geometries, it can get tricky in terms of that access point. So I prefer the 90, and if at all possible, because I think it's the right size from a portability perspective. And if you need additional length, we bump up. We have, in the Evolution family, we go from a 90 centimeter all the way up to a 160 centimeter chain. But then we also have introduced combination-based chains, which we sell at 90 centimeters and at 120 centimeters. So various lengths depending on what your lockup needs are and the specific e-bike model that you have.
Yeah, and I would echo your thoughts. So I feel like that lock, if you're looking for high security without going really crazy with the New York lock, I know that one has an 8 out of 10, and I completely agree. It's, a good balance between weight. That the NYC lock is quite a bit heavier. And so if we're going to go out and we feel like we need a chain lock, that would be definitely the one we would grab over the NYC lock. And obviously that one is a 10 out of 10.
Exactly.
And I just want to call out too, like the nice thing with the chain lock is it has the covering, so it's going to protect your frame. No issues there. And yeah, that's a lock that has been on our e-bike accessories list for quite some time because I feel like it's a great value, even price wise.
Excellent. Yeah. And then where you get into the longer lengths too is if you're in a situation where you're riding with a partner and you want to just bring one lock and you're going to lock two bikes, then there may be instances where you just want to bring one chain and you can secure two. But again, it's a conversation of what's the situation, how much security we need, and what's that balance of weight versus security.
Sure. All right. Let's see. Do you have anything else to show us? Maybe I do want to talk a little bit about your U-locks and what would be the biggest U-lock if someone was just looking for size-wise.
Yeah. So for us, if you asked a question about what's our top of the line, highest security, probably I would also say longest U-lock as well to be able to capture. Let's say we were going for a ride now. We wanted to lock using a U-lock to the Rad Wagon or to that commuter cargo style. We have our Evolution long shackle, and then we have our New York long shackle. So this is a 10 1/4 length shackle to be able to capture again the rear wheel and a piece of the frame. Our shackle diameter is 16 millimeters. So you're looking at, if a thief is going to try to attack this, they're trying to get through 16 millimeters of a special type of steel, which is going to make it very difficult. And I like to say, and I'm going to say this because I know you've said it, you say it in most of your videos that I've got, I tell people right off the bat, as a security company, the first thing I'm going to tell you is all locks can be defeated. I like to tell people we sell time. How much time and peace of mind do you want to invest in? And the more of a lock or the higher security you invest in, you're investing in more time and more peace of mind. So this is going to take a thief more time to attack and to try to defeat. But this is our New York long shackle U-lock. And again, this would be ideal for really more of a commuter style or a commuter cargo bike where you need the additional length to try to get around the rear wheel and a piece of the frame.
Yep. And is there any, as far as storage on those? I mean, people can put it in their panniers.
Yeah. So for this, the longer, heavier U-locks, we don't have we don't include brackets with those, because oftentimes from a weight perspective, it's a challenge to transport them. We make what's called a handlebar mount. We call it the H-bar, and you can install that on your handlebar and have the U-lock pointing outward on the front of the bike. Oftentimes the most recommended, if someone has a rear rack or their panniers, that's where they're putting the U-lock.
Sure. So I would say, at least from my perspective, I always like having the additional space. So if I was looking at a U-lock, that's probably what I would look for, just because it just gives you a little bit more flexibility, especially in our city. You definitely don't know what you're going to have at certain destinations. Obviously, other cities have quite a bit more bike infrastructure where it's maybe a little bit more of a standard of what you have available. But
Sure.
I definitely like that one's a little bit longer if you are looking at a U-lock.
Yeah, and again, and back to the comment I made about the pro and the con with the U-lock. When you have a long shackle, we always tell customers, make sure you're buying a long shackle product, because you need that space. If someone is just doing a top tube lockup, and I see this all the time, they're locking the top tube to a bike rack and they have 8 or 9 inches of clear space. It just allows for someone to even get the idea that I can get a lead pipe or something in there just to kind of mess around with it. And again, they may not defeat the lock, but they're going to do some damage. So don't give that opportunity to a thief to have a lot of space there.
Yep. Good point. All right. As far as other products, was there any other ones that you thought were relevant here?
So
there we go.
You said kind of knowing not to, the breaking point, let's say, when you were talking about the commuting chain, where you're going to be riding more often with like an Evolution 1090. When you start getting into the type of e-bike security you need in the Bay Area, in LA, in Boston, in New York City, Chicago, or if you're in Milwaukee and you're just going to be leaving it out on a street for 8 hours because you're locked up in a meeting all day, this is where you get into the New York Fahgettaboudit security. And this is 14 millimeter chain lengths. And this is when I talked about the difference between an integrated chain and a traditional kind of shackle style disc lock on a chain. There's a difference here. And I'm wondering how long I can hold this until you start to see me shake. But really, all things considered, I tell people real security has weight to it. Someone says to me, can you make a security product that weighs nothing? And they said, no, there's no magic bullet here. Steel has weight to it. And as you go up in our security ratings, you're going to feel the weight, because we have, obviously additional steel, because we wanted to take more time to defeat that investment, that e-bike that you've purchased. Now, again, with this, to be clear, getting back into situations, I recommend this for leaving at the office, for all day lockup on a bike rack, or if you're talking about home security. This is where you always have one of these at home for if I'm going to be away and I want to lock up multiple bikes for that, that time period when you're on vacation. In the event someone gets into your apartment or your garage, you're using a chain locked to an anchor so that they can't steal that investment.
Yep. And I was just going through your website. It looks like there's 2 ground anchors. So what these are basically, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is you're basically drilling into concrete, either likely on the floor of a garage or perhaps outside or a shed or something. You obviously would prefer not to go into wood, but basically they have rings on these, and that is what you would then attach the lock to. And then obviously your e-bike so provides a lot of security at home.
Correct. Yeah. So they're recommended for both residential and commercial use. It's secured into the concrete, as you said. It's a steel plate with a plastic cover over it, and it's giving you a fixed anchor point so that you have that security. It's something that we recommend bike shops use as well. Bike shops sell these to their customers, and we say, hey, if you want to give more places for folks to lock their bikes, it's a cool thing to just have some on the walkway outside of a shop. And or if you're next to a restaurant, bar, something of that nature, it's just a cool place for people to use to have a lock point. The other thing we've done now is introduced, it was something that was asked of us for a while, in terms of truck trailer mount options. So we now have a anchor mounting kit that's sold separately to go with the Evolution ground anchor, so that if you are you're going to, we see this all the time at Sea Otter, where folks are showing up with numerous bikes, and they're just secured with a cable to the tie down in the back of the truck. And so with the anchor mountain kit, you can lock to a truck bed or any type of a trailer, and you have a steel plate that goes underneath the truck bed or trailer, and you secure it with the anchor on top. And again, it gives you that fixed point to secure, one or more bikes with a Kryptonite chain.
I hope you enjoyed this segment of the interview with Daryl Slater from Kryptonite. In the next segment, he's going to talk about how to properly lock up your electric bike. So be sure to subscribe if you want to be notified when that video gets posted. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.